Washington Capitals analyst Alan May, former Estevan Bruin. Good to see you, Al, as always. Hey, if you don't mind, can we start with the Sean Avery, Matthew Barnaby coming out of retirement thing? It must have reached your circles. What do you think about this news?
Is Matthew actually coming out of retirement right now? I saw on Twitter that he made some bold gestures. He doesn't look like he's in too good a shape. I haven't kept track of Sean Avery. I don't know if he's healthy enough to do this. But it's a young man's game, and the young players can skate a lot better than us older guys sure could.
Barney says there will be an announcement within the next couple of days. I should send him a note. He's a pretty good friend of mine, but he's not coming back to play in the NHL. Avery is. Barney's coming back just to fight Sean Avery one more time. So I guess it sounds to me like you're not necessarily on board with this.
Well, I don't even know how old Sean is right now. I haven't looked it up, but I'm not. Does he have an NHL deal cooking? I don't know. I haven't heard of anything like that, but I think it's kind of comical. But you know what? I say give it a go. If he's in good shape and he can do it, he certainly could skate back in the day, but we'll see where it is.
Avery's 41, doesn't have an NHL deal. He's hoping this ECHL deal will get him one, and that's the thing. I don't want to scoff at them. I don't like to be judged. I don't want to judge them. You guys do you. I just hope they don't embarrass themselves out there. That's what I really hope. Now, beyond all of that, Al, I got to ask you about the Washington Capitals, because every week I do a top 5 NHL teams. And to be honest, I think only 1 week in this regular season I've had Washington in my top 5, yet they're still a very good team. It seems like out here, well, I'm in Western Canada now and half the time in Florida, the Caps seem like an under-the-radar team. Or is it just me?
Well, what were you thinking at the start of the year when they were first place in the NHL for like the first 3-4 weeks? I find that
I thought that they weren't. I thought they were in the Metropolitan Division and not the Atlantic Division. That's what I thought.
Well, you look at it though, when all of those teams, how they've performed, they've all had ups and downs. And it's a very strong conference. And I don't buy like at the start of the year, the Metro's the best or whatever's going on, or all of a sudden the Pacific's the best or the worst. The season goes in ebbs and flows. But I look at the Capitals, and they played all season with so many rookies, 11 or 12, and they're a playoff team. There will be a playoff team. And they've never had their second line together. Anthony Mantha went out with an injury about 14 games in. TJ Oshie's only played 18 games this season. Nick Backstrom missed the first 2.5 months of the season. So when you look at that, they've played all season shorthanded. I think as they get players back, it sounds like TJ is going to play tonight, and they need him to be healthy because there's a huge hole on the right side of the Washington Capitals. You have Tom Wilson at the first line right wing, and then you have Garnet Hathaway on the fourth line, and everything else is kind of empty right now. Daniel Sprong, I don't know where he's at as a player. He doesn't seem committed to learning or playing the defensive side of the game, and is kind of a high event player, and I say that in a negative way. And then, playing left wingers on the offside. So they definitely need TJ Oshie on the right side. They definitely need Nick Backstrom to get back up to speed. He had hip surgery. It takes a while. He's still not where he wants to be. And then Anthony Mantha may be back in 4 or 5 weeks. There's 9 weeks left in the season, or maybe, I don't know, he's wearing a non-contact jersey now. He skated for a week, but he won't be back until the playoffs for sure. So they've been, a little down on their luck injury-wise. I think it all caught up to them. But I like their 6 defensemen. I don't know where I'm at with the goaltenders, because one of the things I don't like is the coach's system without the puck, the way they play in the neutral zone. I think it allows teams to gain speed and attack them while they're basically standing still. And it didn't work in last year's playoffs. And when you play the faster teams, it seems like it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, I certainly didn't mean to offend you. I've been splitting my time, Alan, between South Florida and Calgary. So look at the teams. Well, got my Panthers putting on here right now.
I love watching the Panthers play. I do love watching the Panthers play. I've never seen a team since the Oilers in the 80s and the Canadians in the 70s that had so many odd man rushes every game. It seems like every time they get the puck in their zone, they create a speed rush and great shot attempts, and they just keep coming at you. And as the year goes on, I think teams are going to figure that out a little bit and slow them down and start blocking, putting 5 guys at the blue line and starting to play that type of hockey. Because if you try to go toe-to-toe with them, they're going to win that battle. But if you try to go, they're on the attack and you play strict defense, I think it always favors the defense when you decide as a team to put it all together and just commit your play without the puck and hope for mistakes along the way.
You know what's interesting about that is I did a banquet with Wendell Clark in Etonia, Saskatchewan. And Wendell talked about the absence of odd man rushes across the NHL for about the last decade or so, because he said it's going too fast, Rod. You don't see 3-on-2s anymore or 2-on-1s. And you're right, the Panthers are doing it all the time. But do you feel that if they lined up against Washington, like Washington is a more rough and tumble team, are you feeling that they're built for a playoff run here now, the Caps? Is that what you're seeing?
Well, as they get their players back, and I think they still have to tweak a few more trades and add some to the depth. And with guys like Ovechkin and Backstrom, Oshie being as old as they are, you want to take advantage of the productivity that they have right now. You look at what Ovechkin's been doing this year, it's spectacular. But I think you need power in numbers, and they're not quite there yet because they don't have a top six threat at this time with the injuries that I mentioned. But I do believe with a bigger team that can play physical, I think they still need to add some physicality. Their fourth line is gung-ho and ready to play every game. It's a very positive factor. Lars Eller's had a very tough season. And they've basically been playing this season, in my opinion, without a third line. There hasn't been productivity with whoever they're putting there. You didn't have Nick Backstrom for so long. And I think as it all comes together and they start to gel as a team on both sides of the puck, I still think that they've got a lot of improvement to do, and just in time for the playoffs, because they've had a lot of adversity. And I think that's the one thing when you look at Tampa the last few years, the last 4 seasons, there was so much adversity, and they realized they couldn't play a pretty game anymore. They had to play a more muscular game, a defensive, physical game, and kind of get in your face. And I think the Capitals have that. They need a few more ingredients so that they can have all 4 lines playing that type of hockey. But if they do, I think they can, make some hay in the playoffs. And once again, it comes down to goaltending. They've had the worst power play in the league, which is hard to believe. To me, it's the worst power play in the league because it's the most obvious and it's not working. But there's a lot of work that has to go into this for them to be successful. But I look at the year they won the Cup. It was April 1st. They went into Pittsburgh. It was Ovi's 1,000th game. And all of a sudden, they changed to a defensive style of system to play against the Penguins and pretty much everyone else. And it worked for them. They won the Cup on physical play and defense, but defense was first, physical second. And then they got opportunistic goal scoring from all of their guys up and down the line. This team, I think, needs to refocus and recalibrate and get back to that type of hockey. But I still believe that they need some help up front.
Alan May, I look forward to the day that we can have a coffee because I could talk hockey with you all day. David Adams is watching on YouTube and he says, hope Alan May makes it back to Estevan, Saskatchewan for the Centennial Cup tournament. By the way, your Bruins are mowing everybody. Here's an old-time hockey thing for you. It's between the Bruins and the Humboldt Broncos, and then it's everybody else atop the SJHL right now. So we're planning to be in Estevan for the Centennial Cup. If you can't make it, Alan, I'll represent you. But there's a lot of Islanders fans up here. And you've been gone for... Sorry, you're going to say something?
No, I was going to say, if the Caps aren't in the playoffs, I will be back there. And I don't know. Hopefully I can get across the border. If I get across the border, I'll hang out with you every day. We'll drink some beers. We'll talk hockey. If you want to have coffee, that's up to you. But when I go home, I want to have some of my Canadian beers. And I definitely want to watch the Bruins in the Centennial Cup. Yeah.
I've had enough Canadian beers to last a lifetime. I'm 7 years off those, right, Jack? So you can have those. I'll stick to the coffee. But Alan, there's a lot of... You've been gone for a long time. You may or may not know, there's a lot of Islanders fans up here, although I do know you come home. And it's because of all their winning in the early 80s. And we're all a little... I'm not one, but I just know a lot. And they're really surprised at the drop-off of the Islanders this year. What do you see there? Why?
Well, they've had a lot of injuries, but at the same time, I think they're so focused on overplaying defense that they stifle their offensive players. And if you play that committed all the time and you don't have true goal scoring and you don't appreciate it, I think they've got a lot of younger players that they need to use more and they need to grow their games. And it seems like they're the guys that get, they're put to a different set of standards. And you need speed, you need youth. When the Capitals won the Cup, they had some great youth that provided timely goals, a lot of speed. And at the same time, you needed your veterans. But I believe you can't over-rotate on defensive hockey because if you just sit back all the time, I think you get your head pounded in. You get beaten to a pulp. Your players wear down. They start to get way too many injuries. And in today's day and age of hockey, if you're just sitting back like the Islanders have done, I think you're more prone to that. And you look at all the injuries that they've had this year. It's just so much time spent in their own zone, so much time getting hit by pucks. They're a brave team when it comes to blocking shots, but eventually you're going to pay the price if you're just going to sit back. And I say with the Islanders, they kind of go on the offense, and they kind of try to score. They don't really get after it until it's too late. I think Barry's got to open up the system a little bit. And but with the amount of injuries that they've had this year, they're cooked. They will not make the playoffs. And then they're going to have to recalibrate because they're an older team. Again, they've let players get older, and they've got to find a way to add speed and youth to the Islanders. I like what some of their defensemen have done and what they've grown into. Pulock and Pelech are sensational. And they're so much better of a team when both those guys are playing together and in the lineup at the same time and not injured. But when you think of it, who scores the goals for them? Barzal, I think, could be a 100-point player, but he seems like he's held back a lot. And I know Stevie Yzerman made a rotation back in the 90s, late in his career, but all of a sudden they had other players there too. So a great two-way player, but they had Fedorov, who was all on offense, and you've got to enhance and let players. I just look at Barzal, and I think there's a player that should be unleashed. And you tell him we need to get a goal a game because I think he's capable of it. His skills are just incredible. The skating ability, he can skate around any defenseman in the league, but they play it safe. And I think that playing safe has led to death with the Islanders.
Yeah, well, it's tough to see a team drop off a cliff like that, and it's even tougher for their fans when you don't see it coming. Alan, I apologize, but we got to go. Tight for time on national TV here, but as always, great seeing you. Thanks for the analysis, and good luck this spring.
All right. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Washington Capitals analyst Alan May, WHL and SJHL alum. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.